on that. We will start with the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AHA meetings will be approved by one vote unless any trustee desires to have a separate vote on any or all these items. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and action on the following items. Minutes of the regular trustee meeting March 28, 2023, and a check report March 9, 2023 through April 8, 2023.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda, items A and B.
Second.
Have a motion by Dr. Brown and second by Dr. Simon to approve the consent agenda as it was presented. Roll call vote, please.
Gasper,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Guess that's it. All right. Candace.
All right. Still no D&D survey, which is fine. We do have Coco's lab survey started this morning, and she's got 3 or 4 people on site for the next few days. So she's kind of got her hands full. HR is working on moving our annual performance appraisals to reside on Paycom, which is where all of our employee payroll is processed. So that will be easy to manage for our managers to perform those evaluations. And we seem to, in the past, either they didn't get done or we couldn't find them and we have to repeat them. So I hope that that takes care of that process. Clinic visits were up about 300 from February to March, so that's good. Carrie's really working with the schedulers to maximize the capacity each day for providers to see as many patients as they can, so we appreciate all of their efforts in doing that. Business office, Michelle Hamilton's last day was March 31st. We hated to lose Michelle. She did move back home to take care of a family member. So we are kind of at a point, Chris Lauderdale is taking over Michelle's duties and will be supporting that team. Upfront collections, I hope I'm looking at this right. I need to confirm this, but it's in 2 different places, but it looks like we're at about $50,000 in total for upfront collections, which is good. They continue to offer the financial solutions. Avitafy is one, and I know that Lydia and her team are doing a good job at that. You'll notice beginning, I think last month, each department manager is documenting their cost-saving efforts in their reports, and I won't go through them each individually, but that's where you can see, I know we spend a lot of money, and you would kind of like to see sometimes if we ever save any money, so we are trying to keep track of that so that you can see that in each of their reports. Marketing, Maddie does a great job. Maddie back here that's doing minutes. Maddie does a great job of developing our Facebook ads and running like ads for our providers to try to keep that out in face of the public so that they remember what services we provide and who provides those. She's recently started promoting Dr. Daniel, our new general surgeon who started last week. He spent the day onboarding, getting all of his credentials and computer passwords and working on that. So, and doing a few consultations. So we welcomed him. The next one we're working on is getting Dr. Tupper, the orthopedic surgeon, onboarded. And we look forward to him starting, I'm being told May. I'm hopeful for June. So maintenance, Brad is still out. Brad had a surgical procedure back in January, the end of January. So we're hoping that he can get back to us soon. I know they're missing him. It's a lot of work for 2 people to try to accomplish, but they're doing a good job. housekeeping, I wanted to give a shout out to Lydia Vasquez. Lydia came in early to help them clean the registration area so that an employee could have the day off. So they were housekeeping was very appreciative of that. That's what we do, we help each other out. I had to give a shout out, under clinical analyst, that's actually Mark Almack. And he gets the prize for the shortest report, and that would be because he's probably the busiest person here right now. Bless his heart, this Meditech implementation has fallen heavily on Mark Almack, and he is doing an amazing job. I'd like to do something nice for him. Here it is. Central Supply, Jaden's doing a great job keeping that going and trying to get us headed in the right direction, obviously, of saving money and taking advantage of all the contracts that we can for better pricing. Unfortunately, she is losing Jennifer Horn. Jennifer's been with us for many, many years. She started over at the nursing home. She's been Anita's right hand for many years, and her last day is the 21st. And so we'll be saying goodbye to her. She found a better opportunity with better pay and better benefits. So we hate to hear that. I think that's about all I was going to cover. Lots of urgent care visits still. And I apologize, those graphs, once they come across onto here, they're really kind of hard to read. We'll try to do a better job at making those a little bit more clear, maybe a little bit bigger. Does anybody have any questions for me?
So, yeah, real quick on the orthopedic surgeon. So if he comes in May, we're expecting maybe that would be the first time that he would see patients.
Do some consultation.
Consultations,
Yep.
then surgeries would possibly be the
follow
next
that.
month or
We're in 2 weeks.
2
Yeah.
weeks. Okay.
Yep.
Fine.
The goal is, once they get started, once they get things going, they will do like a surgery pop out as they're turning over the surgery suite for the next patient. They'll go out and do a few consultations, or like in Dr. Daniel's case, he might pop over and do some endoscopy work in the other suite as they're turning over the other room.
Okay.
So trying to keep it moving. With ortho, that will be a consultation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Candace? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the CEO report as presented.
Second.
Have a motion by Dr. Brown, second by Dr. Simon to approve the Share Medical Center written report for April 18, 2023. Roll call vote, please.
Burke.
Yes.
Simon. Yes. Brown.
Yes.
Roman.
Yes.
Jasper.
Yes. Okay. Next item is the CFO's reports. And
All
Joan.
right, let's talk about financial statements. They are, if you look in your, I think the graphs are first this month, so they're kind of in the middle of the CFO section for the financial statements. We closed out the month at $110,000 in our operating cash account, which is about 3 days of operating expenses. We did receive our cost settlement report in March. It was $762,000. That allowed us to pay some outstanding invoices, and you'll notice when we get down to the AP section that our accounts payable decreased by quite a bit. We did receive notification in the month of March that we would be getting, or what our interim cost report settlement would be. We are anticipating an additional $407,000. And so historically, we've seen that money come in June when there is an interim cost settlement. So That will be really good timing as we'll be in the middle of our implementation, things will be slowing down and be nice to have that cash come in at that point in time. Our hospital AR increased by $78,000, bringing it up to $3.75 million. You'll notice we had an increase in our unbilled gross days to 18.1 gross days. We are, as we work through this implementation, a lot of our employees are having to wear dual roles, do multiple things, let me say it that way. And so there's a little bit of ebb and flow there, where maybe our day-to-day work gets a little bit behind, and so then we have to work to get that caught up, and I think that's a result of that happening there with our unbilled growing a little bit. So obviously, if our unbilled grows, our billed AR drops a little bit, so it dropped from 54.1 in February to 46.8 in January. So I know she's been working to get that caught back up, and we'll hopefully see that go back the other way at the end of April. Let's see here. As I mentioned earlier, our hospital AP, it decreased to about $545,000, which is about 31.6 days of operating expenses. I also mentioned just a second ago that we work to pay some outstanding invoices and get some of our get our vendors as caught up as we can. So we're about 60 days out with our vendors now. So it was a great relief to be able to take care of that. Let's see here. Our gross patient revenue was at $1.7 million for the month of March, which was an increase of about $100,000 from the previous month. So obviously, we do have more days in the month of March than we do in the month of February, so that also helps contribute to that. Year to date, we are at $13.5 million in gross patient revenue, which is a little bit under budget from where we wanted to be. We are, seeing consistent numbers. I feel like after COVID kind of dropped off, we're starting to see our revenues even out a little bit. We hope that by implementing, Dr. Daniel for general surgery and then getting our orthopedic surgeon on staff, that will help us increase our revenue. Hospital operating expenses were $1.15 million for the month of March, staying pretty consistent with where we have been. Those are the bulk of what I have to talk about today as far as financial statements. Are there any other questions that you guys have? Anything I left out that you'd like to talk about? It's an awful quiet room. Just to give a Meditech update, we are 75 days from our go live date. We've had a couple of, different, as we work through the implementation, there's some things that pop up and we're working through them as a team. Feel like we are in a good spot. I don't know, what all do you want to talk about as far as Meditech implementation?
Probably need to talk about the resignation issue.
Oh, yes. So we did receive Mark Nichols' resignation, so he's our IT director. His last day will be May 12th. So we, being that we are in the middle of the implementation to Meditech, that poses some challenges for us. We've met with ISG, who we've worked with in the past to help put our server room together and get that project move forward. But we are trying to determine what the best solution is. We do have the position posted, and we're hopeful that we'll get some applicants there, but we will probably be working with someone else in the meantime until we find the best fit solution for us going forward, or we're able to find another IT director. So we've had a lot of conversations about what that will look like going forward, and we hope to have that solution figured out. I know Candace and I'd like to have it figured out in the next couple of weeks so we can have a good game plan going forward. Any questions on that?
There are no questions in regards to that. I guess we'll go to the next item of action, which is The discussion and action to approve or disapprove the purchase of a CRM X-ray system.
So let's, we had two different options. If you look under, I think it's other info, is that right now? Other materials towards the back. There are two different CRM quotes there. With the board falling a little bit sooner than normal, we didn't get all the information on the CRMs really until just a little bit ago. So there's a $67,000 CRM that's in there and a $35,000 CRM. So we found out some additional information on them. The $35,000 CRM is a 2015 model CRM. After having some conversations with tech and talking to Candace a little bit, I really feel like we probably need to look at the $67,000 CRM. It is a 2020 model. They can extend the 12-month warranty out to 18 months. They have techs that can be out, to work on that piece of equipment. I feel like both of our surgeons are okay with working with whatever option we have available to them. But I feel like if we go with the 2015 model, that it's a 7-year-old piece of equipment. That's a pretty old piece of equipment as far as the technology in it, and we could start running into the possibility of not being able to get parts or have a maintenance contract on that after our 12-month warranty would expire. So I know Jason, I know at the Finance Committee we didn't have all of that information, so to kind of finish out that. Dr. Tupper is willing to work with whatever we have available, but I really do feel like the $67,000 piece of equipment is probably the right choice for us.
And so, if you guys remember, back in the fall, we approved going out for financing for this equipment. The total at that time was going to be a total of $321,000, I think is what it was. Even with it being at 67, we're still at only like $275,000 for all that equipment that we needed. Do we believe there's going to be anything else?
There may be some additional pieces that we need as
bigger surgeries.
But for now,
but to get started with the procedures that we'll be beginning out with, we do feel like this will be everything that we need at this time.
so we're under that cap of what we approved already financing-wise in the fall. So this would cover that. We have to have it for them to be able to do their procedures. In finance, we agreed that it was needed, it was valid. Is there any discussion about the difference between the two? You are getting a 5-year newer machine if you go with the one that's $67,000. Hence, one of the reasons why it costs more money.
Do you know what brand new one costs?
I can pull up. I believe it was closer to $150,000 or $175,000.
I just wonder if it's a substantial jump between
Yes.
3 years used versus brand new. I didn't know if it's close or not.
This in 8 years is too much, too old.
Well, most of us don't carry around a phone that's that old.
Well, I just meant if the brand new one was only
Right.
15,000 more, like what are we?
Maybe, I don't know how, but
I guess we have a significant overage.
Yeah, I can pull that up.
No, it's not big deal.
But I know that when we were looking at it, and that's part of the reason that we had approved the $321,000, and the CRM was the biggest piece of that. Some of the other pieces, in the original quote, we did not have any scopes or anything like that on there, and those are around $20,000. So I know that the $321,000 was to include a much newer CRM. If I remember correctly, it was $150,000 to $175,000.
and we did the calculations on the payments, the lease payments. It's like a 4.6% interest. You go see what interest rates are now. That's significantly less. So that's the right move for us to make.
And when you say warranty, they cover everything on it?
The warranty's outlined in the quote itself. So it's in here it outlines a 12-month warranty, but in talking to our rep today, they will change that to an 18-month warranty from the date of installation. And it looks like the warranty exclusions are, active
Yeah.
God, war, terrorism, so yes, it would include all of that.
And it's also, I'm assuming, because they put service hours,
Yes.
that they're gonna work during those times.
Yes.
I don't think it's a piece of equipment that we would need them to be in here at midnight working on.
No, not likely.
It's not ours.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of CRM X-ray system from Rad Source Imaging Technologies in an amount not to exceed $67,000.
Second. Are there any other questions in regards to that? If not, I have a motion from Dr. Brown, a second from Greg Bowman, to approve the purchase of a C-arm X-ray system from Rad Source Imaging Technologies in an amount not to exceed $67,000. Roll call vote, please.
Simon?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Gaspard?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes. Okay. Angelica, thank you.
I was just gonna say, to answer Haley's question, they had an average CR being about 135,000, and the maximum being around 200,000. So I think we had just taken that average dollar amount when we were putting it together.
Okay, next item is Medical Staff Executive Committee, Chief of Staff, Dr. Burke.
So we met April 13th, and the Medical Staff Credentialing Committee has 3 items that we need to go over today. The first one is reappointment to allied staff for Brian Nutter.
Make a motion, we reappoint to allied staff Brian Nutter.
Second.
Ooh, I know. So I have a motion by Dr. Brown, a second, a very close second by Dr. Simon to reappoint to allied staff Brian Nutter, APRN. Roll call vote, please.
Brown?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Gaspard?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Simon?
Yes.
And then we have a reappointment to courtesy staff, Mary Carolyn Holmbo, MD pathologist with, is it Heartland
Yes.
Pathology?
That is correct.
And it's a reappointment.
Make a motion, we reappoint to courtesy staff Mary Carolyn Humble, MD.
Second.
Oof.
Jimmy.
We have a motion by Dr. Brown, a second by Greg Bowen to reappoint to courtesy staff Mary Caroline Holmbo, MD pathologist. Roll call vote, please.
Bowman?
Yes.
Gaspard?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Simon?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
And then appointment to courtesy staff Ian Daniel, MD General Surgeon, so that he can get it going.
That's all right.
I make a motion, we appoint to courtesy staff Ian Daniel, MD.
Second.
Arm wrestling. Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Brown, second by Dr. Simon to appoint to courtesy staff Ian Daniel, MD, General Surgeon. Roll call vote, please.
Gaspard?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Simon?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes. And nothing else?
All right, thank you. Next is Quappy.
All right. I'll try to make it quickly. Under IT, they're currently sending emails to department heads of staff that fall prey to the phishing attempts. So we have no before. We send out fake phishing attempts to try to get our employees to understand, what it looks like. And unfortunately, sometimes they are so good that they click on them and then they have to do a remediation exercise to further learn what they need to be doing. So Mark has been actively working on that. He's also completed the annual HIPAA walkthrough and currently updating department heads on issues he has found with individual staff and notifying them of that. Patient satisfaction surveys are monitored for any trends, none were noted at this time. We had one grievance for the month of March, and the letter was sent out by the risk manager. We had no recalls. Employee health and safety, we had 7 employees ill for the month of March. Amber continues her hand washing compliance and monitoring for health-acquired infection or hospital-acquired infections. There are no trends noted at this time. Our masking team for infection prevention continues monitoring the requirements related to masking for us as well as the public in the hospital. We did have one patient in the month of March that was COVID positive. Lance Harsman is currently working on signage for the lobby to notify patients of the masking situation. We had 2 new employees hired for the month of March, 2 terminated for March. Occurrence logs, we had 2 occurrences for the month of March. One was a HIPAA occurrence, and it's been taken care of. We had 1 patient injury that has been addressed, and 2 medications that would not scan. When they scan medications, that's kind of a safety issue if they cannot scan, because that's where drug-drug interactions pop up on the screen, or right patient, etc. So they monitor those. We continue to monitor the and to use the Just Do It's in SQSS to keep us all on track doing what we need to be doing, if it's timed correctly. And then the quality management plan was reviewed by the quality committee for this month. That was all I have.
Okay. Thank you for that. The next item is improvement to patient care. You have a contract review, a quality evaluation. That is under the improvement to patient care tab. Everything looked to be 100%. Then you have items B through K, 7B through 7K. And these following items are all routine policies and procedures. They'll be approved by 1 vote or disapproved, unless any trustee desires to have a separate vote on any or all of these items. Does anybody wish to have a separate vote on any or all of these items? This here this is all the procedures or policies and procedures right here. And you have under that same tab of improvement to patient care, the quality and risk management plan, all of which would fall under B through K. Are there any questions that anybody would like to ask about any of those policies or procedures?
There is if you'll note on that, there's a final review remarks, and that tells you whether or not there were changes, whether it was an annual review, whether it was a new procedure, or if something was changed, it's noted in there. Add blood pressure measures, type of thing. So I think that's helpful to kind of have a little bit more information.
Does anyone have any questions in regards to those?
I make a motion that we approve the items B through K as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Brown, a second by Dr. Simon, to approve items 7B through 7K as they were presented. Roll call vote, please.
Burke,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Gasper.
Yes. All right. Easy cheesy. Thank you. Next item is the Share Convalescent Home Report. Kelly?
Starting with the finances at the nursing home, we had an operating cash balance for March of $209,853. Our accounts payable was $30,000. Accounts receivable is at about $1.6 million. And I went through that list yesterday, and there's quite a few people that I know that there are no assets and there are no, that there's going to be no way to recover some of that. So I'll probably be working with our accounting contractor to write off some of those, but I'll talk with you, Angela, and make sure we're all on the same page. Like I said, accounts payable was at, balance was about $30,000. Gross revenue for the month was up by about $38,000 for a total of $223,574. But days were up as well compared to February by quite a few, almost 200 days. Part of that's due to having more days in the month of March. Operating expenses, some scheduling measures into effect and saw a pretty good change in combination of scheduling changes as well as some supply purchasing changes. And so we did have an improvement in our operating expenses from February to March. Salaries and wages, it was maybe I looked at it wrong, but salaries and wages were $139,195, and so I think that probably accounts for the 3 extra days. But our per patient day salaries and wages went down. Net income for the month of March was $53,315. That's our best month of the year by a lot. Year to date, we have had $1.8 million in gross revenue. Total operating revenue is just over $2 million, almost 2.1. Total operating expenses are 2.4, and so our year-to-date loss is $333,000. Any questions on the finances?
So did we have more, so did we grow our patient volume?
Yes.
Okay.
We increased our census by about 2.5 days,
Okay.
or 2.5 patients. We went from 795 days in February to 971 in March. Okay, so for the written report, our quality measure scores, we got our quarterly results on that. We report this monthly, but the state requires a quarterly report. And with that, we did really well. We improved from the previous quarter in 15 of our 17 quality measures. The month or the quarter prior, we improved in 8 categories, and so that was good. They flag any quality measures that are in the bottom 25th percentile, and so we were flagged in 3 of those, but the last quarter we were flagged in 6, and I am fairly positive that since I've been at the nursing home, that's the fewest number of flags that we've had for any of our quality measures, so proud of our team for that. Better than state average in 12 of the categories, better than U.S. average in 11, and I didn't put it in my report, but we were in the top percentile in, I think, 6 categories. So 6 of our categories, we could not have done any better, and nobody else did either. So I was proud of the team for that. I mentioned our salaries, and I apologize, I hadn't looked at it from a total salary standpoint, but per patient day, we went from almost $104 per patient day for our nursing salaries down to $94 a patient day. So that was a pretty significant improvement. January it was $115, almost $116 a patient day. So we've really been working on making sure that we are appropriately staffed for our census, and team's doing good there. Anybody have any questions regarding my report?
You mentioned it in there, and we talked about it in finance, that approval.
On the HVAC?
Yeah.
So the state did approve our gave us stage 2 approval for our HVAC replacement project. We did meet today with the finance committee to kind of briefly discuss game plan. I left the meeting and I've been on the phone about all afternoon talking with general contractors and mechanical contractors, and I've been sending the plans out to them to review and offer us a proposal for what they can do as a construction management provider for our project. So we'll probably have something to consider before long. Next step would be an engagement letter with a construction manager. So stay tuned.
Very good. Any other questions for Kelly? If not, Homestead.
Okay, the homestead did have about a 7% increase in occupancy. Or 6.7% change, and so that was good. I know they had, earlier this month, they had a resident moving from a smaller apartment to a bigger apartment, so that'll be a little more revenue. And we are, Tanya is now almost exactly 1 month into her role as the director over there, and she's doing a great job. We're starting to work on plans for kind of new management, advertising campaign, and see if we can pull some people that have been thinking about coming out and just give them, maybe another reason to look at us again. So that's, like I said, Tanya's doing a great job. The field when you walk in the facility is pretty sound right now. It's everything seems to be going pretty good. They've got quite a few apartments that are out of commission that were affected by that sprinkler line break back in the winter. We can't find a contractor to repair the sprinkler line, and that's been the issue. So until the sprinkler line is repaired, ceilings can't be repaired. I mean, we can start doing some other stuff, but it's that's holding things up. So we are down a few apartments, and it's our 2-bedroom apartments primarily, and those, obviously rent for the most. So we've had to begin air conditioner repairs. It's that time of year. We'll be doing air conditioner repairs all summer. So that's, I think there's 60 or 70 total air conditioning units at the homestead. And so there's always a few of them that are not happy with their current condition, and they decide to mess up on us. So we work on air conditioners a lot through the summer. But that kind of questions, I am working on getting the pond liner. We're going to be going out with a local request for proposals. And I don't know if we'll get anything or not, but hopefully we will. Can't use him.
No? Unless he wants to do it. for
He's
free.
already fired me from over there.
I'd love to. I tried to. Drew's dad wouldn't let me.
Well, it's a new day. He looks and sounds a lot like Rick.
But, I mean, if we have sealed bids on anything, I mean, anybody can bid that, so, something to think about. Okay, any questions? Finances for the homestead, pretty good month. Wasn't the best month this year, but it's a pretty good month, 59,336 is the second best since our October was a pretty good month too. So 59,000 in revenue, 53,000 in expenses, and we had net income of about $5,800. Year to date, the homestead has gross revenue of almost 491,000, and operating expenses of 465,000. So that's $25,000 net income. If we can keep increasing occupancy, we'll see. So we probably will see some pretty significant, in terms of percentage-wise, increase in that net income. Right now, the homestead is fully staffed, and so this is as high as our salaries and wages are going to be. So we're in a decent spot to make some improvements. Questions on the finances?
No, thank you for that. Anything from the foundation?
No, sir.
No. All right. St. Anthony send anything?
Nope.
No? Greg, anything to report from the council?
Well, I could not attend the meeting last night, but I can report that the city has purchased a new ambulance, so we'll be getting a Type 1 ambulance. I don't think a date's been set.
They're putting the decals on it right now.
Wow. We're supposed to have a fire truck inbounding pretty quick. It's kind of the same way. And we do have a city manager on board. He's in week 2 and doing a very good job from what I understand. So I'm sure his hands are full, so that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you. I do not have anything additional to add to the agenda. I will mention May 16th is our next board meeting. There were no other items of new business, so we are adjourned.